Welcome back, y'all, to One Piece chapter 1037. We're back at it again, and there's a lot going on in this chapter too. We have Luffy versus Kaido continuing, we have Zunesha showing up at the very end, and we also have the mystery devil fruit that the Gorosei are talking about. But without further ado, my name is Sai. We're gonna get right into this chapter. So at the beginning of the chapter, we have the continuation of the Fire Festival. You have people gearing up for the final stages of it because you can see them riding on lanterns and getting ready to send them up into the sky, which is usually the final act of festivals. And speaking of dawn, if you look closely, there's actually a giant lantern of Lady Toki, which I think is absolutely ridiculous. Imagine you're Kaido and it's your final moments and Luffy's about to defeat you and you're like, oh my gosh, that prophecy that Lady Toki told me about, 20 years ago, it's finally coming true. And then you turn around and you look at the dawn, and none other than a lantern of Lady Toki is right there to witness your defeat. It's nice, it's poetic, it's really cool, and I just think it's a absolutely ridiculous scenario. I also like to think that the other lanterns are going to be floating in the sky as well. And since we don't know what everybody is wishing for in Wano, we can kind of guess that at least some of them are wishing the defeat of the Beast Pirates. Like, imagine, Kaido and Luffy are fighting up there, and then Luffy sees like inspirational messages from the citizens of Wano saying, please defeat Kaido, please free Wano, open the borders, do something about this man. And then Luffy gets back up and he's like, oh, you know what? Everybody's counting on me. I have to defeat this guy right here and right now. All right, so Luffy versus Kaido. This is great. I love fight scenes in One Piece. Usually it kind of sucks because as a reviewer, it's hard to talk about it, right? Like, I'm just gonna be sitting here saying, oh look, Luffy threw a pretty good right punch, it's a left punch here. But this chapter, the fight is so dynamic and it's like a boss fight. It's like a Dark Souls boss fight because it goes through multiple stages. The fight against Kaido so far is what I would imagine fighting Dwayne The Rock Johnson would be like. He's just this really big guy, he's coming at you, every hit is just so powerful and impactful. And I'm just wondering in my mind, like, how is this fight gonna evolve? And then Oda pulls something that we should have seen coming from a mile away, to be honest. He made Kaido a true alcoholic. He decided to whip out the sake and take some swigs during this fight. And I was there for the spoiler drop. I read the spoilers and people were talking about, whoa, like if Luffy beats Kaido, can we actually say it's W since Kaido is, drunk? Like, is this a fair fight at this point? And Oda even made Luffy say the same thing, saying, hey, if you lose, Kaido, don't blame this on being drunk. But he acknowledges it. He says, oh, that's not the case here, boy. I'm drinking because this is gonna be a really good fight. I'm drinking because I'm taking you seriously. And lo and behold, drunk Kaido, in my opinion, he's at least 2 times stronger than base Kaido. I've been watching anime for a hot minute, and I will never forget the day I woke up and I watched Toonami, and then we had Rock Lee versus Kimimaro, and Rock Lee accidentally drank some medicine, and it turned out to be sake, and he got super drunk during the fight, and I guarantee you that was one of the funnest fights I've ever watched. Oda said, we'll take that, and we'll throw that in a very serious endgame fight with Luffy. And here we are, Luffy versus Drunk Kaido. Kaido's going through multiple stages. He's crying, he's laughing, he's mad, he's sad. Like, there's so many different depths to this story and fight. Something we haven't got from this fight yet, though, is Kaido's backstory. We know a little bit about it, but we have to get the reason behind his emotions as well. When he drinks, why does he cry so often? Why does he get angry? What is behind that mask? And we haven't learned anything this chapter, but next chapter, I guarantee, I'm calling it here, we're gonna get some Kaido flashbacks or some Kaido lore. Because let's be real, what better time to drop some lore about yourself than when you're drunk? Sober Kaido would never do that. Drunk Kaido would. So I'm just saying, there is not a better time to drop some Kaido lore than next chapter. So we have the fight going on. Luffy is tanking some really strong attacks. It's insane to think about how Luffy has grown through Wano, because a single Raime Hake to the chest, like to the stomach, would absolutely KO him. And here he is taking an advanced version of that Drunken-Style to the head, and getting back up. Yes, it hurts him, but he's not KO'd, and that's so surprising to me. And you have to remember that when Luffy got KO'd initially, he was in gear 4th. Now he's in base form using COC and Armament Haki, and he's tanking all of this. So I'm curious that when Luffy goes gear 4th again during this fight against Kaido, how much more improved will it be? I'm really excited, man. But to be honest, I do like it more when Luffy fights in his base form. It gives more oomph to it. It gives more depth. And I just love seeing like that final page where we see him versus Kaido. Like you can see the blood running down. You see his face and he's all serious. I think that's really cool. That is what I prefer over Gear 4. That's my opinion. Just throwing it out there. So moving on to the fight though, looking at these panels, I love that Oda is drawing Kaido as if he was drunk, because if you look at the panels where Kaido is transforming from hybrid to base form to dragon form, some of these faces look kind of crazy, man. Like it looks like Kaido himself, like his devil fruit, is drunk. Like if you look at one of these panels, it legit looks like if Jinbei and Kaido had a baby. Alright, so the fight continues and Luffy and Kaido are absolute freaking monsters. Luffy pulling off so many agility feats. At one point, Kaido is in his hybrid form, going at him full charge with his Kanabo, and then Luffy freaking jumps over that and kicks him dead in the chin with some COC, and it's absolutely beautiful and insane how well choreographed this fight is, because right after that, Kaido grabs his leg, and then they both go in for a COC clashed headbutt, which I think it's kind of funny because you see Kaido like crying and going through all these emotions while he's headbutting Luffy, and Luffy's just like, oh my god, this is insane how much haki this man has while he's drunk. So after that, you know the fight's getting serious because Oda decides to put in a Gatling versus Gatling fight, which every main villain has some iteration of a Gatling attack to match Luffy, and Kaido's is to use his Kanabo. Kaido starts swinging his bat super fast. The guy should join the MLB, and Luffy hitting him with a rock Gatling, and they're exchanging some pretty heavy blows. And this is where Luffy plays it really smart in my opinion. One of Kaido's attacks looks a little bit too heavy. So Luffy, instead of trying to match it with his raw Gatling, he avoids it, he dodges it, and then he catches Kaido by surprise with a pretty nifty Armament Haki kick. And bro, this kick, they ain't playing it. Remember a couple chapters ago where Luffy and Kaido were both smiling and they're like, oh, this is gonna be a fun fight. And Kaido was like, oh, maybe I should drink some sake. Bro, the last two panels you see of Luffy versus Kaido, the man ain't having fun no more. The gloves are coming off. This right here might be the most damage we've seen Kaido take thus far. Like, we've never seen him like lose consciousness a little bit, you know, blood coming out in his hybrid form, like in his drunken phase. Like, this is a phenomenal attack, and it's not even one of Luffy's finishing moves. Granted, it's not enough to take Kaido down, but we're getting pretty dang close to the end of the fight for sure. Alright, so now cut to the final 2 pages of the chapter. We go to the Gorosei in Marie Joie, and I'm really excited because they just keep on hyping up how bad the reverie was and how crazy things have gotten. And people are speculating like, oh, Sabo died, Vivi died, somebody definitely had to have died during this. But the way they make it sounds like things didn't go their way, or else they wouldn't have called it cursed. They wouldn't have said the reverie went bad. If everything went according to Im-sama's plan, then things might have been good. They would have been like, oh, this was actually a really successful reverie. But the fact that they say that it's bad, that it's cursed, it must mean that something did not go according to plan. So that's why I'm saying that Sabo and Vivi are most likely still alive. They might have escaped and they're on the run, but I guarantee it that they are alive. So now, time to talk about the elephant in the room, or should I say the elephant in the ocean. Zunesha shows up in the final page of this chapter, and it's pretty crazy because there's a lot of theories about why Zunesha is here, and there's some that I agree with, and then there's some that are kind of crazy. The crazy one that I've heard so far is that this isn't Zunesha. Zunesha, or the giant elephant, has a brother or sister, and that's what this is. And the reason people are saying that is because we don't see the island on top of Zunesha, so we can't really confirm that it's Zoe. But let's be real here, if there was another giant elephant in the ocean, I think we would have known about it so far. So my money is that this is the real Zunesha. There is no duplicate, there's no brother sister thing going on. I feel like this truly is Zunesha. And when Luffy was falling off the island, when he was trying to regain consciousness, I feel like he might have subliminally called over Zunesha. Zunesha heard the voice of all things in Luffy and was like, whoa, I need to go to his aid right now. That's the most popular theory, and that's the one I agree with the most. And let's be real here, when he was on Trafalgar's ship shooting out those king or voice of all thing waves, something must have been summoned or awoken by that voice. And who other than Zunesha to come to his aid? And it's kind of interesting because back in Zou, whenever, Jack was attacking Zunesha and Zunesha was like, hey, give me the order, tell me to attack this guy. Luffy's voice couldn't reach Zunesha, only Momo's could. So I'm wondering if Luffy now has the ability to communicate with Zunesha as well, or maybe Momonosuke was the one who summoned her and we just don't know that quite yet. My money is on the fact that Luffy can now communicate with Zunesha better than he could back in Zou. So now moving on, Zunesha was very important, yes, but the main thing we have to talk about is Jack's PTSD. I'm just kidding, but let's be real here. You got one shot by Zunesha, and then you sailed off, and then you came to Wano, and you're celebrating, and then you get destroyed by the minks on the rooftop. You get healed up, and then boom, you get destroyed by Duke and Arashi. And then imagine if Jack wakes up one more time, and he's like, you know what? I think I'm gonna go fight again. And then you look off to the horizon, and then there you see Zunesha. What a freaking nightmare this man would be having. Alright, so now the final theory crafting we have of this chapter, the Gorosei. We're talking about a devil fruit that's been aptly renamed so that the world doesn't find out about it and that it hasn't been awakened for so many centuries because it's so devastating of an ability. And we don't know what it is. They're teasing us super hard on what fruit it is. There's a lot of fruits that this could be, and I'm gonna kind of go down a list and talk about some fruits and why I think it's this fruit, why I don't think it's that fruit. And yeah, let's just get this started. So first up, Luffy's fruit, the Gomu Gomu no Mi. I do not believe this is the fruit the world government is talking about. The main reason I'm saying this is because Luffy's fruit did not awaken in this chapter. Why would the Gorosei be talking about an awakened fruit if it hasn't been awakened yet? It might have been awakened off screen and they heard about it through CP0 agents, or maybe a world government ship told them about it, but we did not see it being awakened this chapter. I do not believe that's what they're talking about. There is the context that the world government was after the Gomu Gomu no Mi like 20 something years ago, but that's long gone. Why would they let the Gomu Gomu no Mi be in possession of Luffy? And they're like, oh my god, if he ever awakens it, this could be devastating. Why would they not do something about that until now? Next up, I'm going to be talking about Kaido's Devil Fruit and Big Mom's Devil Fruit. I do not think it is either one of theirs. And the main reason I'm saying that is because if you give a Devil Fruit to an Emperor that has Void Century correlations, and if it ever awakens, it'll be a complete disaster, why would you not assume that they have not already awakened it? Because, like, let's be real here, Kaido and Big Mom, 99% chance that they have an awakened Devil Fruit. And even if they didn't, the chances of them obtaining it are super, super freaking high. So if they knew about that beforehand, they would have tried to snuff them out a lot harder, and they wouldn't be bringing this up just right now. The next Devil Fruit I want to talk about is the Opinomi, Law's Devil Fruit, which makes sense as to how the Gorosei would know it's awakened, because CP0 agents are nearby. They can easily hop on the phone and say, hey, Gorosei, Law's Devil Fruit has just awakened, and it's pretty crazy. The reason I'm saying it's not Law's Devil Fruit though is because the Opinomi has already so much hype around it. The reason I don't think it's Law's Devil Fruit is because the Opinomi already has so much hype around it. It can already perform the immortality surgery, and people were hunting for this Devil Fruit a long time ago for that reason. So with the government and the Gorosei saying, hey, we misclassified a Devil Fruit so that people wouldn't turn an eye to it, it wouldn't make sense if people were already looking for that Devil Fruit because it could already do the immortality surgery. If it could do something even more than that, then why would you hype it up so much already? So with Law's Devil Fruit already having something super crazy tied to it, I don't feel like it's his Devil Fruit. Next up, I want to talk about Kid's Devil Fruit because this is what I think it's gonna be. I could be completely wrong, and that's a-okay. But like I said before, the Gorosei would know about its awakening because CP0 are nearby. It makes sense at how they would be talking about it. and they're like, hey, it's an awakened devil fruit, and the Gorosei are like, oh my god, I didn't know that would be awakened. This hasn't happened in so long. So the repel fruit. So far, Useless Kid has been able to shoot and magnetize objects. He's been able to magnetize people. But what if it is more than that? With Kid's awakening, he could touch Big Mom and start pushing and pulling her as if she was being magnetized. But what if his devil fruit isn't just that? What if it can do way more? But because Kid believes that he has the repel fruit, he is limiting himself to his true abilities. I know that sounds insane, and honestly, I don't even believe this theory, so maybe it's not that good. So, moving on, the most popular theory as to what the awakened devil fruit they're talking about is the Kibi no Mi, Tama's devil fruit. Tama's devil fruit has, in my opinion, always been pretty dang broken. She gives it to a smile user, and then they are instantly her slave. And I'm just like, wow, she has literally turned the tide of this war towards the favor of the Straw Hats by having so many smile devil fruit users on their side. And what if she does this to like regular animals or Zoans? Like, it would be insane. She would be the queen of nature, having animals fight for her left and right. And when you really think about it, what does a kiwi dango have to do with any of this? When I think of a dango dessert, I don't immediately think of, oh, if I give a dango to an animal, it's just gonna freaking love me. That's not the first thing my mind goes to. So I feel like Tama's devil fruit, out of the whole bunch I just mentioned, is the one that makes the least amount of sense for its actual powers. And with the CP0 agents witnessing Tama almost take control of the battlefield, I would assume they're saying, hey, you won't believe it, but Kaido's army is fighting with the Straw Hats because of this crazy devil fruit. And then the Gorosei are like, oh my god, we brought no attention to the Kibi no Mi because we gave it a wrong name, because we hoped that whoever has the devil fruit would not use it to this extent. Now they're getting panicked because they're like, oh my gosh, they're working with Straw Hat, they're turning the tides of this battle. This fruit might be an actual menace down the road. There's even some really good theories that have been out there for a while now that Zunesha was actually forced to walk the oceans mindlessly and aimlessly because of the previous owner of the Kibi Dango. And if that's the actual case, then this ties up really well, because the Gorosei even said that this fruit hasn't awakened for centuries. It's not awakened once, and that the government went out of their way to change the name of this fruit. And imagine if Tama gives Zunesha a Kibi Dango and says, hey, go hit the Gorosei with your little whip. Like, it would be game over. Like, how big Zunesha is, she is the size of a freaking country. Going over and attacking Marineford, for example, she would destroy that place. You can't even begin to imagine the devastation Tama could cause if she just gave the Kibi Dango to every big animal out in the world. It would be an absolute nightmare. And this is the most plausible theory as to what devil fruit I think the Gorosei are talking about. If I had to take a guess at this fruit's real name, I would say it's the Tame fruit. It's not the Kibi no Mi, it's the Tame no Mi, or however that's pronounced in Japanese. And with Tama being the new owner of the Tame no Mi, Zunesha is on her way to Wano, because Tama is calling all the allies. What if it wasn't Luffy? What if it wasn't Luffy's voice that reached Zunesha, but what if it is Tama's devil fruit that reached her instead? Zunesha's influence by the previous devil fruit owner is now being overwritten by Tama's order to help the Straw Hats at any cost. And like I said, that brought her over, and we're about to see some havoc going down. And I'm pretty confident in that theory too. It's a theory that everybody is sharing in the comments. It's not unique to myself, but when you really start piecing things together, Zunesha and Tama's devil fruit and how broken it is, it starts to click, and I can only imagine how crazy this is gonna be. Imagine if the Gorosei are like, hey, forget Nico Robin, go get Tama instead. She is more important. She could start a war that this world has never seen before. One last thing I want to talk about before I end this video, and it has to be rewinded back to something the Gorosei said earlier in this chapter. When we first went to them, they were talking about the fight against Kaido, Big Mom, and Luffy, and that there's so many people fighting that it wouldn't be crazy if somebody were to fall or die. And they were mentioning that they wanted someone to be extinguished And we all know that the word extinguished and the way they mentioned it is very akin to how Im-sama said to extinguish either Luffy, Blackbeard, Shirahoshi, or Vivi back at the beginning of the Reverie. The reason I want to make note of this wording here is because back at the beginning of the Reverie, when the Gorosei asked Im-sama which light he wanted to extinguish or snuff out, he settled on Vivi. You know, it wasn't really said, but he was holding the poster like, hey, like, this is the person. So we know that he wanted to get rid of Vivi. But now that the Gorosei are talking about extinguishing another light, you know, here being Luffy, it makes me wonder, like, oh, like, there's a good chance that Vivi was not extinguished. They did not have a chance to take her down. So now they have to settle on the next best person, which is gonna be Luffy. All right, with all that being said, this was a fantastic chapter. We had an amazing fight scene with multiple phases. We had so much we could talk about and speculate on with the Devil Fruit and Zunesha, Tama's Devil Fruit. And there's just so much going on, and I think this is how you do a fantastic chapter. And one last thing I have to say is that there better be an admiral on those world government ships to Wano, because it would be insane to me if they did not send an admiral to clean up this mess. Not only do you have Nico Robin, you have, you know, the Kibi no Mi or whatever devil fruit they're talking about being awakened, you have Luffy and Kaido and Big Mom potentially being taken down. Somebody is going down in this arc, and if the government is not on top of it, I do not know what they're doing. But it could also be saying, if an admiral is not coming to Wano, even under these circumstances, that the world right now outside of Wano must be in complete shambles. If the world government cannot spare 1 or 2 admirals to try and clean up Wano after everybody's done fighting, then that must mean the outside events of the world right now are absolutely insane. I imagine revolutionaries tearing down countries, Blackbeard taking over like the East and West Bluers, and I don't know, doing something crazy, Shanks trying to stop him. There must be so much going on right now in the world, and I cannot wait to see it. Anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching today's video. If you like the video, please drop a like down below. It really means a lot to me. Even with the like and dislike bar being hidden, it still means the world to see that you guys are liking my videos so much. Please leave a comment down below as well. I'll be making a response video to this comment section too. So if you leave a comment, there's a good chance I'm going to be talking about it sometime during the week. Also, I have a new profile picture. You guys might have noticed it. Hopefully you guys don't say, oh, who is this? Unsubscribe, you know? I think it looks a lot cleaner. It's a lot better. It's of the same character, so I think it works. Also, thumbnails are a little bit different this time around. You might have noticed that. I have somebody doing my thumbnails now, which is pretty cool. I think it's funny because I look at it and my old thumbnails really stood out because they were so bad, but there's kind of like a wholesomeness to it. But eventually I wanted to stop doing my own thumbnails because it got to be too much work and I couldn't even think about how to edit them anymore. So now somebody's just doing it for me, which I think works out pretty well. Tell me what you think about all the changes down below. If you don't like one of the changes, let me know too. And, you know, I might change it back based on how the feedback goes. So with that being said, thank you again, and I'll catch you guys in the next video, the response video, spoiler video, whatever have you. Peace out.